AI is changing the way content is created. So where do we draw the line really between automation that everyone seems to be starting to do now and then authenticity?
That's a really good question. I don't know that we get to draw the line, or if the line will kind of emerge over time. Like that seems to be more what happens. Like if you go back to the advent of any new type of media, printing press onwards, there were always groups of people trying to draw lines that ended up not being the line because they didn't have all the information yet.
What was your first break and how did it shape your approach to, say, creativity today?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never really thought about that. I think really it was sort of DJing. That's the first time I sort of tried something that became a professional occupation where you had to kind of put yourself out there and learn to like hustle, and you learn very quickly it's not just about creativity, it's about finding ways into new markets and how are you going to differentiate yourself and all these things. Gaming is larger than music, movies, TV combined. You know, a $89 billion market opportunity in 2025 alone. It's projected to be $500 billion in the next 5 years.
Today, I'm delighted to welcome Matt Mason. Matt is a creative strategist, technologist and storyteller whose career has consistently bridged culture, media and emerging platforms. Matt's background is something of a journey. He got his start as a pirate radio and club DJ in London before moving into music and advertising, working with the likes of Warner Music, Saatchi & Saatchi and Mediacom. From there, Matt moved into digital and content world in a big way, taking a leadership role at BitTorrent as the Chief Content Officer and helping serve tens of millions of active users. If that isn't enough, he then led 1-800-NOTHING. That was an innovation studio backed by Sony Pictures, where he had shaped new forms of media, gaming and interactive content. He also served as CMO at Kraken, the digital currency exchange, and is now the CEO and co-founder of BaseJump, which is a search and discovery engine for the next iteration of the internet, which we learn more about today. And that's not enough. Matt is also the author of the book The Pirate's Dilemma, which explores how youth culture is reinventing capitalism and is a bestseller in its category. So today we'll be digging into how Matt sees the relationship between culture and technology evolving, and how the next internet will shape media and identity, and how organisations and individuals should prepare for that shift. So it's set to be a fascinating conversation. So please join me in welcoming Matt Mason. So Matt, how are you?
Good to see you, Rachel.
Likewise, it's been a long time since we talked, so it's really good to catch up. So Matt, I know your career, I know over the years we've known each other, your career has moved across many different areas from strategy, product and content. Now, what was your first break and how did it shape your approach to, say, creativity today?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never really thought about that. I think really it was sort of DJing. That's the first time I sort of tried something that became a professional occupation where you had to kind of put yourself out there and learn to like hustle, and you learn very quickly it's not just about creativity, it's about finding ways into new markets and how are you going to differentiate yourself and all these things. And it was interesting sort of growing up doing pirate radio in London. I think so many of the DJs and the people from that world that I keep in touch with have gone on to do some really, really amazing things. I was also really lucky to go and read economics at Bristol and work with, really smart bunch of people there that I'm also in touch with. It sort of feels like the people I did pirate radio with, we all learned that it was okay to fail, and you don't really get a chance to do that in the same way in higher education. And I've definitely seen like a few more entrepreneurs, a few more sort of risk takers come out of that. And it always sort of struck me as you go and you get a chance. It doesn't have to be music or radio, but just doing something as a kid where you're like, you can be like, my kids are baking cookies and selling them door to door. They're 6 and 8. But, they're learning about product distribution, marketing, and they're learning that it's okay to fail.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think that kind of something like pirate radio was so kind of out there and, of its time that it's a really good. It's good to hear that. And you're still in contact with a lot of these guys.
Some of them, yeah. A lot of them went on to become successful DJs and are still out there making music, or producers or artists. And a lot of people just end up in, fascinating jobs and careers And then I'll run into people that I didn't even, then I've sort of realized you and me were on this station together back in the day.
Oh, wow.
People all over the world. It's definitely an entrepreneurial class of people.
Excellent, excellent. So, Matt, you've said before, attention isn't the goal, but connection is. Now, what does that actually mean in practice?
Attention isn't the goal; it's about connection. Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I think we have so many platforms today that are actually built around getting your attention. And then once you've got someone's attention, like, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah,
And the thing, I mean, one of the things I think we all don't get enough of, but all crave is real human connection in so many
yeah,
different ways.
yeah.
And that's the goal. Like, if you look, if you can do that, it doesn't matter if you're making a brilliant song or a film or a company that solves a problem in a new way. If you connect with someone, you can solve a problem that they have. You can identify with them. You can speak to them about something going on. I mean,
Mm,
to me,
mm.
that's the goal, right? Like, once you get someone's attention, how are you going to hold their attention? How are you going to
Yeah,
keep their
yeah. No,
attention?
keeping it. Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So we all know at the moment that AI is changing the way content is created. So
Hmm.
where do we draw the line really between that automation that everyone seems to be starting to do now and then authenticity,
Hmm.
that that balance? Where do we draw that line?
That's a really good question. I don't know that we get to draw the line, or if the line will kind of emerge over time. Like, that seems to be
Really?
more what happens. Like, if you go back to the advent of any new type of media, printing press onwards, there were always groups of people trying to draw lines that ended up not being the line because they didn't have all the information yet. And in the fullness of
Yeah.
time, it becomes more obvious. What we're dealing with AI is a very, obviously it's the most pronounced radical form of new technology. Potentially, I mean, one of the things I sort of keep going back and forth on just personally on AI is this a new form of super intelligence, or is this just a better drum machine for everything that's going to help us do more things? And I think in the short term,
Yeah.
it's definitely a better drum machine. It seems to be putting more creativity and creative power in the hands of an individual versus an organization.
Mm,
It's just sort of how I'm reading.
mm,
Like, I see more people building, startups overnight, where they're individuals or small teams, than I do. It's not like a giant publicly listed company has
yeah.
10x its value because they've integrated AI in a brilliant way. I think that end of the market I worry about slightly more.
Yeah.
Is it gonna transform at that level, or is it gonna completely reshape us in ways that we don't see coming yet? Usually that's what happens, right? We're not very good at
Yeah.
guessing how new technology is gonna change things.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It's like we can't really look into the future, but there's people who are so for it and some people who are so against it, but who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows which way it'll go. So then with regards to say AI generated content, like
Mm.
what's your take on AI co-creating brand stories and content? And like
Mhm.
the kind of keeping the brand real itself.
Yeah, it's definitely a world that we play in with what we're doing now at BaseJump. We work with a lot of brands that are
Mm,
struggling with AI as something that, you know, it means that suddenly their brand can be altered and changed very quickly by anybody in myriad media formats. And it's just easier than ever to kind of dilute brands or change how they're sort of perceived out there.
yeah.
But I think there's lots of ways you can sort of lean into that. Like, we focus on making game assets. We work with a lot of brands that have like very distinctive pieces of intellectual property, characters, story worlds, etc. that
Okay. Yeah.
they want to put in games, and they don't necessarily want every kid in the world instantly generating an AI version of their character and then not getting paid for it, or that character being used in a way that the
Okay.
brand doesn't like. So there's a lot of
Right.
stuff like that. The great thing about AI and the way sort of it's working, or the interface is the interface is a prompt,
Mm,
and you can give prompts guardrails. So that's what we do in BaseJump. We have a platform where you
okay.
can generate a full 3D game character, or even a full 3D game in a matter of seconds. And it's just kind of like, yeah, you could pirate any IP in the world if we didn't actually kind of figure out a way for you not to be able to do that. So if you
Right.
go
Right.
into BaseJump and you try and make Pikachu from Pokemon, the AI systems and the stack that we built could absolutely instantly reproduce a perfect copy of Pikachu from Pokemon and give it to
Really?
you. Yeah, that's the sort of the raw technology that we use. It's because, okay,
Okay.
yeah, you're looking at Pokemon. We built a system that's like, okay, you want some kind of small yellow creature with some kind of electrical power. We're not going to give you Pikachu, but we can make you something that's sort of like that,
Similar.
that's not violating any IP and is completely okay under fair use. And you can play with that. You know, if we happen to do a deal with Pokemon, then we will serve Pikachu's in a brand safe way with the permission and the right licenses from Nintendo and
Okay.
Pokemon Company.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
until we have those, we won't. So I think you hear a lot of people in AI, a lot of the kind of, larger names like Sam Altman, sort of people have said some really, to me, really worrying things about sort of just completely ignoring copyright.
Okay.
And on
Yeah.
the one hand, I understand there's a take in Silicon Valley that this is all more important than copyright. If we build a super intelligence that can literally solve maths and then physics and then everything else,
Mm-mm.
we should let it read all the books in the universe and listen to all the songs because it'll be worth it. Maybe it will, right? If it gets us to our sort of solar punk utopia where everything's great. Sure, okay.
Right. 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 Yeah.
But in the meantime, 40,000 people have lost their jobs just in Los Angeles in the film industry in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
happening all over the world. It's happening in every creative industry. Creative people are scared, they're upset, they're mad at
Yeah.
these companies that have these
Yeah.
eye-popping valuations. I don't think we have to go from one extreme to another. I think there's I've my whole career I've played with the boundaries of copyright and content, and I've always
Yeah.
been on the side of the creator. But for me, being on the side of the creator is understanding that actually sometimes the status quo isn't going to work anymore because facts
Right.
on the ground have changed. And I think that's where we are today. I want to be in the business of giving creators better drum machines,
Yeah.
and so they can do more and make more. It's still hard for kids to make games, even on Roblox and Fortnite. It takes a certain amount of effort. It's hard to get discovered. It's hard to get paid. So we're looking at that category as all right. Well, gaming's larger than music, movies, TV combined.
Mm. Mm.
It's a $89 billion market opportunity in 2025 alone. It's projected to be half a trillion in the next 5 years.
Wow.
But it's changing unrecognizably. The same thing's happening in gaming as it is in Hollywood. Lots of people getting laid off. The sort of idea of a traditional studio doesn't make quite as much sense as it did. That's the sort of the downside of it. The silver lining is a single dev can now do next to work and
Yeah.
can use AI to do things that previously other people would have had to employ.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
and I think that's where this gets interesting, right? If we can all do 10 times more, we will do that. People are smart. If you get laid off, you get resourceful. I've got nothing but empathy for people who have had their careers disrupted by AI. But
Absolutely.
I would say, like, that's obviously really tough. And if you're trying to put food on the table, it's it's
Yeah.
it's a super stressful thing to do.
Yeah.
The good news is these tools are all available for you as well, and you can now run faster in a lot of cases than
Right.
the company that might have just laid you off.
Right. 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 That's an interesting angle. So it's almost like, okay, to these unfortunate people who did lose their jobs, it is easier as a result of AI with everything that is available to maybe pick it up and do it yourself. If you show some initiative, if you can.
I don't want to sound like I'm not trying to be sort of glib or flippant or about losing your
Sure.
job, and it's not
Yeah.
always that
Yeah. That's
easy.
true.
But
That is true. Of course.
it's definitely a rough time. We're going through a
Yeah.
platform shift in every single category out there. Like everybody's dealing with this. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's really tough, but there's definitely a way through, and there's definitely room to be more entrepreneurial and do
Okay.
10 times more with just yourself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, I know you've mentioned jump, and
Mhm.
I've seen, I was following the stuff you do on LinkedIn, and what base jump is doing to say the uninitiated,
Mhm.
non-gamer type person like me. Can you tell me, like, so in briefly say what base jump? I know what you said there, what you do, create games, but say. Tell me a little bit about base jump and say how, with regards to, say, corporations or organizations, how can you work with them, say, collaborate with them, just with AI and with what you guys do?
Yeah, sure thing. So BaseJump's a consumer AI platform for making games and game characters, game items. And I think the really fun thing about it is all of the games that people make on BaseJump, all of the characters, and there's millions of these already. We've been live since July,
Okay.
all work with each other. So if you make a character in BaseJump, it will work in every single game in BaseJump, and it will work in lots of games outside of BaseJump, Fortnite, GTA,
Oh,
Roblox,
wow.
etc., etc.
Right.
We're trying to build a sort of fully interoperable kind of ecosystem of game assets. People who are not gamers, I still think don't realize how big gaming is. 3.5 billion people use game assets in the world. It's half the world's
Really?
population. It's just absolutely the most habit forming, all consuming form of entertainment we've ever had. And it's still just like nobody kind of realizes quite how big it is or quite how pervasive it is globally. Um, but yeah, it's huge. We are getting to this point where walls are coming down between games and game companies are starting to, I don't want to use the word metaverse because that's a tainted word, but
Right.
a new internet that's built on game engines where the characters and the things that you own are kind of your connective tissue between all these places is starting
Right.
to emerge, and AI's only accelerated that. You can make something like that now and put it up there, and it's live, and people can start playing in the game that you make or playing with the characters that you make, and you should get paid for that. um
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so there's lots of really interesting examples of this happening this year, kind of massive scale. And like one of my favorite things that's happened this year around intellectual property creating, storytelling,
Mm.
and
Mm.
gaming is this trend that started on TikTok called Italian brain rot, which is, yeah, it's great. So my 6-year-old son told me, he's like, "Dad, you've got to put Italian brain rot in BaseJump." I'm like, "What did
6-year-old
you
son.
what
Oh
did
my
you
God.
say?" Yeah. And he's like, "Look," and he showed me on YouTube,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Okay." And then I fell down this rabbit hole. So Italian brain rot started with kids making animals using AI platforms like Midjourney or Grok or whatever, where it's kind of a mashup of an animal and sometimes a fruit or a household object. They give that animal a sort of very long Italian sounding name. And
Okay.
then they started posting, it started really on TikTok, generate these animal, and someone made one, someone made another one, someone made another one. Suddenly Italian brain rot was a thing.
Okay.
And it sort of looks a little bit like Pokemon, like it's hundreds of these sort of weird animals and characters,
Yeah. Yeah.
all with crazy names, all with like, no real backstory, no coherent kind of canon. It's not like a top-down story world,
Right. Right.
but it is a story world. It first went crazy on TikTok. It then started generating billions of views. People started turning brain rot into short stories and shorts and
Oh,
even
yeah.
longer form pieces of content on YouTube. Nobody was asking anybody's permission. Nobody was worried about copyright or ownership. So this is kind of
Right.
the other side. Like, what does it look like if you do completely ignore copyright? Brain rot's actually a really good case study. So it scaled quickly because anybody could take brain rot characters that other people have made or make their own and just say, here's a new
Right.
brain rot. And kids either liked them or didn't like them, and sort of the most popular ones have sort of risen to the top. This all started in like March of this year. By the summer, Italian brain rot games had broken all records on both Fortnite and Roblox. So you had 24 million kids one weekend all playing Italian brain rot on Roblox at the same time. It broke the record again last weekend on Fortnite. Um,
Wow. Oh my
I've
God.
seen brain rot toys in every mall and shop I've been to over the summer, from London to Osaka to the Jersey Shore. You've got brain rots right next to Pokemons in stores. So
Okay.
it's a global franchise generating, I think, billions of dollars already, probably, and
Yeah.
nobody owns it, which is interesting and cool. The downside of that is some of these kids are owed millions of dollars if you're
Yes,
going
I
to
was
sort
just
of
going to
follow
ask.
the level of
Yeah.
copyright law.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So that's one of the things we're using. One of the things we're doing with BaseJump is every asset that you make there can be saved on blockchain. So
Okay.
you can actually prove this character was created on this date by me. This is on chain
Okay.
forever.
Right.
I own the rights to this. It's not necessarily going to always stop people ripping off your idea. If you can't stop people ripping off your idea, if they'll do anything to rip off your character, no matter
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
much you try and protect it, that's a quality problem. I've been saying this since, the pirate's dilemma. Obscurity is always, if you're creating content, obscurity is the enemy, not piracy. If people are pirating your stuff, that's good. Find out why, find out how much they'll actually pay for it, and figure out a way to charge them because they clearly want what you're doing. And
They
if you're a
clearly
creator,
want it.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, not in every context you're going to be happy about that, but it usually means there's often a way for you to find a way to monetize that piracy yourself. So we're building for this new world. Like, if you can create anything in seconds and it can move across all these different games and worlds,
Yeah.
you need an open ledger to sort of track where that thing is being used, and it can't be owned by
Yeah.
one company. And
Okay.
suddenly the idea of blockchain is actually useful for something beyond speculation. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for crypto, but I know just, a lot of people are not.
Pros
This
and
is definitely a
cons.
use case where it's really,
Yeah.
really, really useful. And you couldn't, if we were doing it as a company with a closed spreadsheet and we went out of business, all of it, if brain rot sized IPs are being built here, they're not gonna last if we go bust and we're the kind of the owner. So having an open protocol where all these things work is really, really
Mm,
important. So what we're building kind of looks like a game, but it's really infrastructure for the new ways that culture's happening.
right, right. And could an organization, pardon me, but could an organization contact you guys and say, we want our product, say, put into the game, and that can that be a way of them marketing their product in the gaming world?
Yeah. We haven't announced any sort of deals publicly yet, but we've signed one and are close on a few others. We're
Oh,
talking
okay.
to a few major studios, a couple of major record labels, a few major fast food brands about
Okay.
either games or game characters or assets that can live in games.
Wow.
So the
That's
crazy thing
mad.
about game, I mean, look, the thing about gaming, and I think one of the reasons that we don't think of it as being, it doesn't seem as big as some of the other forms
No.
of media that we have, even though it's bigger than music, movies, and TV combined.
Right.
The ad spend in games is less than 5% of the US ad budget per year
Oh,
because there's no way to advertise well like you can't advertise in a game very well. No one wants to see an ad in the middle of playing Candy
sure.
Crush or so we just X them out. There's not a native ad usage that goes with the game. You interrupt you. It's
Yeah.
not fun. You close it immediately.
Annoying.
And the closest we've got is like billboards in racing games, but it's just like that's not really it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If if you're a fast food brand and you can have a box of, I don't know, chicken nuggets that also
Sure.
work as grenades in this game or power ups in that game, or if you take
Okay.
them into the store on your phone and show them that you've got these things, you get a discount on the real life chicken nuggets or whatever it is.
Right.
Suddenly you've got an interoperable, interactive asset that does different things in different places, depending on what the user is doing with it and where they take it. That's fun. That's fun for the
Yeah.
gamer. That's fun for the brand.
Sure. Yeah.
It's driving in the right. You can incentivize that any way you like. I think the interactive object, we call them hyper objects in BaseJump, the open source
Hyper.
objects
Okay.
that you create.
Okay.
And the reason we call them hyper objects is because the internet, as we've known it today, is built on hypertext. The connective tissue is a word in blue that links you somewhere else.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what holds the internet together. I think hyper objects are the connective tissue of the internet built on game engines. It's not the game. It's not Fortnite. It's not Roblox. It's the
Right.
characters you take from one place to another, and
Wow.
then understanding what are people doing with these characters. What is the behavior that you as a brand are seeing if you put an object out there? Where are kids taking it? What are they
Yeah.
doing? And how do you respond to that? And so you can connect with them better.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And it's like, I suppose it's like brands need to really look at it in a different way as if, not as if they're advertising in a normal space, but it has to be non-intrusive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has to be non-intrusive otherwise. And so the demographics, like I mean, the age group for these would be quite young, from say your son's age up to what age really are is the demographic?
I mean, for base jump, we target. It's kind of it's like 15 to sort of 34
Right,
is the
right,
sort
right.
of
Yeah.
sweet spot. We're
Yeah.
really popular on Discord. We're popular with Web3 gamers currently. Um, but I mean, at scale, gaming is it's people in their 50s and 60s, and it's kids as young as six, seven.
Yeah.
Sorry to say 6, 7. But yeah, it's just kind of
It is relative.
it's yeah, it's a massive, massive. If it's 3.5 billion people, you're not talking about an audience. You're talking about many, many audiences and cohorts, all with different needs
Right. Yeah.
globally, with different
Yeah.
cultures and contexts around them. So gaming, it's just not quite, like in movies, there's like Hollywood and Bollywood, and there's various sort of locales. The same thing is true with gaming. Like gaming's different in Asia than it is in North America, than it is in
Okay.
Europe. Some games transcend all markets.
Yeah.
Some don't. Some are very, very localized. Game assets that can live between platforms wherever they are can transcend borders.
Wow. Wow. It's all fascinating. It's not an area that I would have, would be into at all, but it's like fascinating listening to how big it is. I had no idea. So Matt, say with regards to TikTok, Instagram Reels and LinkedIn videos and all this stuff, we know that voice search is exploding. How do you think discovery models are reshaping branding?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just sort of moving to an entirely new form of platforms. Understanding when you use voice to look for something,
Mm.
what is the platform that you're using? Where does it go and look for stuff? How is it looking for
Yeah,
stuff? Where do you,
yeah,
why do you need to optimize? What is being scraped? How are these platforms finding the thing that you're asking for? So it's completely changing.
yeah.
Search engine optimization is completely shifting to like, well, how do you optimize what people are prompting, what people are asking?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a really interesting shift. Like the amount of intelligence, the amount of context we are going to have around user queries, I think is getting deeper. I mean, my experience using AI is ChatGPT knows me way better than Google or Facebook do,
True,
and
yeah.
Google and Facebook already probably know more about me than I know about myself. Um,
Yeah,
the
indeed.
scary bit is ChatGPT talks back to you and tells you things and remembers. Um, and and that's interesting and that's new. And I think that's when you get into um, some of the new behaviors that are going to emerge or the new sort of social patterns that
Mm.
are emerging. We're hearing about a lot of bad, like weird ones or bad ones, like someone married an AI agent last week or something.
I didn't hear
Things like
that.
this. Yeah, someone
Okay.
got married their AI, left their husband for their AI.
All right.
There's some religions that have started
Ah,
around
stop.
worshipping. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, look, we're humans talking to a form of it's like aliens have invaded. It's like there's a new form of intelligence that's kind of on our level, and we can talk to it, and that's brand new. It's literally as I think as Transformers is as if aliens had landed and started talking to us all. So I don't know. I don't know what happens next, but it's pretty cool, and yeah.
It is pretty good. It's almost like live in the now. Don't get too stressed. It could be, what's going to happen in the future is going to happen. But yeah, it is crazy how fast things are moving as well. So, Matt, when it comes
Mm,
to AI, gaming, social media, and all that, how do privacy laws and say data fatigue impact a brand or a
mm.
person? It's like just all the like the privacy laws in different countries and across different borders. How do we work that? Any idea?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a really thorny issue because you are going, well, it varies from place to place. And I think we're already sort of starting to see firewalls
Uh,
go up, and, different regulatory approaches from how China is thinking about AI to how North America or the US is thinking about it
yeah.
to the EU. The EU seems to be sort of definitely the most sort of, forward deployed in terms of regulation. um,
Mm.
US less so, I think, because the entire North American economy is dependent on 10 AI companies right now, and you don't want to chill the stock market in any way,
Mhm.
which may be unavoidable, but we shall see. So yeah, you're getting these different approaches to it. The
Yeah.
thing about regulation, it's always slightly behind technology, and I think with
Yeah.
AI, it's
Mm.
going to be like if AI keeps improving, and that's not 100% clear, but it has continued to improve. I don't
Yeah.
know if the rate that it improves continues to stay the same, but it's going to be ahead of EU regulators or North or
Yeah, that's
China.
it. Exactly,
And
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I just sort of, I think we're seeing a lot of weird stuff happen right now, like people getting married in religions and all this stuff. But it
Well,
also
that
just
is
feels a bit like, just like funny stories for the end of the news. It's like, and finally, someone married an AI today. But one thing I think about as parents of kids is young kids is as they get older, I as a parent, I've read things and heard things like your kids are going to have AI friends, and if you don't treat them as real friends, they're going to be mad at you. I'm like, okay, well,
Okay.
I don't really know what the are these who are these AI friends?
Yeah. Where do they come from?
Where do they come from? What do they know about my
Aliens.
kids? What is their agenda? Are they aliens? Yeah, there's so many questions. Yeah, I don't know that's the right take, but
Right.
I think as kind of the older generation and with a parent
Yeah,
of
with
kids
kids,
who are
yeah.
going to be growing up with this, I know I'm going to be challenged on
Right.
lots and lots of things by my kids. I think again,
Yeah.
one of the things that's fascinating about like to go back to Italian brain rot, like this thing that
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
like it makes zero sense. Why would kids start giving animals long Italian names that looked really weird and then
Yeah.
just getting obsessed with them? It's because they are completely they are algorithm breaking characters. Like they look weird, they sound weird, they're hard to pronounce, they're hard to spell. It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. And you're seeing this with other sort of kids trends and like the 6-7 thing where it's like it doesn't matter what it means. It doesn't mean anything, or it means
Yeah.
something, and we're not telling you grown-ups.
Yeah.
Kids are fighting back. Like my kids have been curated by algorithms their whole lives. Like my youngest son, we had a crib called the Snoo, which is a like AI cradle, and it listens to your baby sleeping and measures all these things and then rocks them perfectly.
Really?
Yeah, no, we got it and it was cool and it definitely slept well in
Really?
it. But I was like,
Oh
wow.
god.
Yeah, it got really good reviews. Our oldest son didn't like it, but our youngest son loved it. And it was just, I
Okay.
was just thinking, yeah, like watching my baby sleep, like you are literally being curated by an algorithm right now. And you're
Wow.
3 months old.
That's
So, like, of course, Italian
crazy.
brain rot appeals to him. Like,
Sure.
every
Yeah.
generation of
Okay.
kids wants to break the thing that's
Yeah.
kind of shaping their lives.
Yeah.
And in that respect, I think Italian brain rot is no different from punk music or hip hop. It's just another subculture. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna. I don't know if we need to worry about. I care more about what my kids are doing with AI than privacy laws because I think that will be a lagging indicator. Those things are important. We
Yeah.
need them, but like, what are people actually doing with this right now? And what are
With the
younger
data.
generations doing to kind of break it? To me, as my interest in subculture is always like, this is the leading indicator of where society is going.
Yeah.
And I think looking there, like, what is the behavior? What are the new
Mm.
nascent behaviors with around this technology and the new culture?
Mm.
If I'm a brand, like that's where I'm trying to play because I think
Okay.
that's how you skate to where the puck is going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. God, that's fascinating. It's like it's amazing as well how much you could learn from your kids. I say your 6-year-old introduced you to that, so it's kind of it's a bit mad. So,
Mm.
Matt, so with regards to, well, how do you think brand creator relationships are evolving beyond influencer marketing?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think you're going to see a lot more. And again, this is something that started in crypto and Web3 that I'm suddenly seeing as it's about to have its moment. So we have got used to the idea of platforms that
Mm,
sell our attention to other people. And
yeah.
there is no reason why you shouldn't just directly sell your attention to a brand or somebody who wants it. And we're starting to see more examples of that in crypto, it's in Web3 gaming, you can play a game and then you can earn rewards that you can actually swap for different cryptocurrencies and turn into real money.
Mm,
Definitely that type of stuff can really distort gaming or distort any type. Like if you
okay.
only watch films because you got paid for it,
What's the
what's the
point?
point?
Yeah.
But if someone wants to serve you an ad and you watch the ad and it
You get,
annoys you or is interesting to you or changes your opinion, should you get some of that money or should Mark Zuckerberg get all of that money? So that's the
yeah.
cool question in there, right? So that we're seeing these
Yeah,
platforms emerge,
100%.
and even things like OnlyFans, I think, is a really interesting. Like OnlyFans has scaled to be $1 billion company, even though there are many other multi-billion-dollar companies where people can stream videos directly to audiences. OnlyFans figured out let's be less of a middleman, give more money to the creator, and help them reach niche audiences.
Right.
It's mostly used for things where it's definitely sort of more niche audiences and stuff, but it's
Mm-hmm.
fascinating that actually that's where we're going. Like people, both creators and their audiences want less middlemen. We want less
Yeah.
tech titans in the world building
Yeah.
spaceships and
Yeah.
rigging elections. I think all of us are kind of bored of that. And the way
Yeah.
to get rid of those middlemen is to get rid of the middlemen. So I think you're going to
Right.
see a lot of technology where a lot of platforms where people are really trying to do that and help creators get paid more, help audiences connect in a more authentic way with those creators, and just get out of everybody's way. Crypto's great
Yeah.
for that. Like it's about open source blockchains where actually the blockchain's a middleman and it's less scary. It's looked more scary up until now. I think crypto does a really bad job. It always looks like a horrible, shiny
Uh-huh.
golden casino full of
Yeah.
pirates. And it is, but it's also there's a heart to it somewhere that it's like actually there is something real here. I think we're starting to get there. Like I've been using Web3 gaming platforms to market BaseJump. I've been running game studios for 10 years. I've run game studios.
Mm,
I've
mm.
never seen more effective marketing channels for reaching real gamers than I have in Web3.
Okay.
So that's really interesting to me. But that's
Yeah.
probably what's starting there is probably going to start to spread to other forms of other forms of content creation.
Okay, that would be, I suppose, really good, say, for music. I was a big music fan. Knowing that, by listening to music on certain platforms, that you don't know if the
Yeah,
artist is actually getting the money, and it always does concern me because I was trying to buy T-shirts and posters and that kind of thing at gigs to support the artist, but that's
yeah.
you know that's a whole other story. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to go through just ask you a few quick questions. Now, with our short attention span, Matt, do you think, say, long form content then is dead with regards to marketing? Are people wasting their time doing that, or is everything all video?
I think long form content is, it seems to me like it's doing better than ever. Like things are getting
Really?
longer and longer and longer. Yeah, I mean the
Okay.
explosion of
All right.
uh, it, like Joe Rogan or Scott Galloway was doing a Radio 4 show 20 years ago and said, I need the show to be 3 hours long and completely unedited. The BBC or whoever would have said, no, that's ridiculous. That makes no sense. Long form content, especially podcasts, which are typically 1 to 3 hours long, have just exploded as a category. It's not
Okay,
going
yeah,
away.
yeah,
It's
okay.
getting
Yeah, yeah.
deeper. You've got these like the manosphere, like you've got all these different kind of cultures in podcasting and these communities that, like presidents can't ignore during elections and stuff. You've got to go and
Right.
talk to the on the left and the right and whoever, all these different podcasters.
Yeah.
That's really interesting to me. Like I find myself listening to
Mm,
3 hour long podcasts. I can't sit through a 3 hour movie, but I can listen to a 3 hour long podcast while I'm doing something
definitely.
else.
Okay, yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
I think like
fascinating.
again, like AI is gonna, like so many of the sort of things like long form or short form, or it's really shaped by the constraints of the media of the day. Like Hollywood used to sell films by the foot. That was how they sold them to theaters.
Yeah,
And then it was like, no, wait, we should sell these based on how good the film actually is. The people are watching, and it changed. And every form of media has, like in music, you went from the single to the EP to the LP,
yeah,
the
yeah,
CD, like we just, the format changes and actually music changes as a result. Like playlists are more important than albums these days. AI is just going to absolutely obliterate all of this stuff again in every category at once.
yeah, yeah.
But I think the sort of the point, the earlier point, the overarching point, I think of this discussion has been about human connection is more important than attention. And
Absolutely.
nothing says that to me in a starker way than the sort of rise of the 3 hour podcast where a mum talking about parenting or a nuclear physicist talking about consciousness can just talk for 3 hours to an audience of 500,000 to 8 million people per
Yeah,
episode. And that is commercially viable. That's never ever been true in any point before in history.
right, right. Yeah,
I think the really good side of AI is it's like when I grew up in London and I moved to the States, and moving to the States that first year, I learned more about being English and British than I'd ever learned in my life because I was no longer in England or Britain. If you
sure.
take the fish out of
Absolutely.
water, you
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
what water is.
absolutely.
W- We keep asking, what is AI? What is this? And I think the question that comes next is, well, what are we? If this thing is a super intelligence, and I'm not sure that it is, if this thing mimics consciousness, and I don't think it's conscious, some people do, what are we? Like, what are we really here for? What are we? What don't we know about ourselves yet? How do we
Yeah,
grow? Like, how are we different to AI? We've never, ever, ever had anything to compare ourselves to like this. So
true.
again, it gets some really fascinating stuff. This is definitely getting a bit out there, but if you're a brand, if you're a creator, this has implications because these are
Mm,
the questions that I think everyone's going to be. We're suddenly going to have a mirror held up to us.
right.
In terms
Yeah.
of an intelligent species, like, well, how are we
Really?
different? Yeah, it's gonna. I think so. I think that's sort of what we're going through. It's like, how are
Yeah,
we
no,
different from this
absolutely.
thing?
It is fascinating. I could listen to you talk for hours because it's like you've a very good
Should
angle
start a
on.
podcast. Should start a
I
5 hour
do.
podcast.
There we go. Because I think I was thinking about when a long form content, I was thinking more like when people are reading now, reading
Hmm.
articles, reading. It's like, but you're absolutely right with the I mean, I have a short attention span, I'll admit. But I would listen to, for me, it'd be an hour and a podcast. And then I'm like, right, my brain's had enough. So it's interesting to see that is the area that it can go. Of course, people can stop and start it, but that's neither here nor there. So, Matt, I know I don't want to take up much more of your time, so I'd love to talk to you again. But I know you're on the speaking circuit, and I know this is really fascinating. What kind of topics can you, if an organization pardon me, if an organization comes to me and they're looking for you to
Mm,
speak at their event, what are the, say, the topics you would feel you're the
mm.
expert at and happy to share with that particular audience?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm an expert in anything. I'm definitely right in the middle of AI and gaming right now, and
Yeah.
sort of how it's changing culture. And I think one thing that I do have is a good understanding of not just what's happening now, but from the research in my book and from running
Uh-huh.
Rewinds, the largest music magazine in the UK,
Of
I have a
course.
pretty good understanding of how culture, how weird, crazy subcultural moments impacted the world
Mhm.
before in lots of
Yeah.
different ways. And I sort of look at what's going on now through the lens of that. So I think, like, for me, it's
Yeah.
not, I'm not a prompt engineer. I can't give you like a sort of 5 bullet thing on how to absolutely maximize your search results. What I can tell you about is where things might be going based
Yeah.
on how things have gone before in moments when we've
Yeah.
been faced with unexpected new changes that have transformed society or pockets of it that have had sort
Yeah.
of global ramifications. That's definitely what I'm interested in. I think it's a fascinating time to kind of be in the middle of
Mm.
all this. And um, I think one thing I can provide as well is a bit of optimism. Like, it's
We need
very doom
that.
and gloom, but as a creator, as someone who's just eternally optimistic, like, everything to me looks like a better drum machine. So like, if I can convince a company, a room full of people in an industry, or try and help them figure out, all right, well, how do I use this to my benefit?
Yeah.
Something I'm passionate about.
No, that's brilliant because I suppose people want to hear the good side, but also it's like even have a broad kind of a future optimistic outlook of what is happening. What we think may happen might be more like it in the future. But it's been fascinating talking to you, Matt, as
Yeah,
always.
likewise.
And
Thank you.
yeah, I hope stay in touch and I look forward to speaking with you next time.
Thanks so
Thanks a
much,
million.
Rachel. Great to see you. Take care.
Yeah. Take care. See you, Matt.
Thanks.
Thanks a million,
Bye.
Matt, by the way. I
Thank
just